So make sure y'all are keeping up with the quizzes. You can take them more than once. Please use your book. So what we're working on today, academic skills plan for reading. If you remember, we're going to do 3 of these this semester. This one is going to teach you reading strategies. The next one that we do will work on note-taking strategies. And the final one, I will give you some test-taking strategies so you can get better at taking tests. So go ahead and click on this template. And when you click on this template, it's going to look like this. Academic skills plan reading. You can go ahead and open that template. And this is what we're going to be filling in today. So for step 1, it's asking, what is your present situation with reading? What's your biggest challenge with reading? And there is a list that's provided inside class. So go back over to the assignment and you can see right here. uh, This is the list, challenges with reading. So your goal is to pick one of these challenges that is your biggest challenge with reading. And I know when I read through this, there might be 2 or 3 that I agree with, but we're just going to pick one today that you're going to focus on, your biggest challenge with reading. So what I'm going to do is read through these 11 options, pick the one that works best for your situation, and you're going to put the answer that you select in step 1. You're going to type the number and the actual challenge. So here we go. Number 1, I don't understand what I read. Number 2, I lose focus or concentration while I'm reading. 3, I don't prioritize my reading assignments and sometimes skip them altogether. 4, I'm not motivated to read. 5, I don't remember much of what I read. 6, the reading assignments have a lot of new vocabulary and I don't understand it. 7, it takes me a long time to read my textbook. I read too slowly. 8, I am overwhelmed by the amount of reading I have. 9, I don't plan my reading assignments so that I'm in my best physical and mental space to read. 10, English is my second language and I have trouble understanding the text. And finally, 11, I struggle with reading material online, for example, assigned articles or ebooks. So yes, these are the choices. I know for me with 11, I prefer to have a physical book because I am a tangible learner and I like turning pages and using highlighters and marking up things in a physical book. So I would see a challenge with the ebook, just looking at the computer so long. So yes, pick one of these. And for my sample, I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to select, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of reading I have. So this is the situation that I'm going to choose. So for step 2, you're just going to write how you would like the situation to be if you overcame this challenge with step 1. So what would be ideal? For my example, if I'm so overwhelmed by how much reading I have, I want to have enough time to complete all of the chapters that I need to read for my classes. So that would be ideal for me. Just being overwhelmed, I want to have enough time. So you take a moment and you type in how you would want the situation to be if you overcame your challenge. All right. So hopefully you have your desired outcome and how you would want things to be. For step 3, that's when we're going to use the ebook. And if you're looking at the instructions, it says go to the reading section, page 331 through 335. And we're going to look at that. There are 20 strategies that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to roll through them pretty swiftly. You're going to pick 2 strategies that can help you overcome your challenge. You're going to put one strategy in this column and a different strategy in the second column. Please make sure to use the separate columns when you're doing this because you're going to be writing different information about each of the 2 strategies that you select. So let's go over to the ebook and look at these strategies. Remember, when you see the 2 that works for you, put them in the different columns and you'll be ready for the next step when we get back to the sheet. So I'm going to go over here to page 331. Just going to type it in. and it's going to take me to the reading strategies section. So let me go, I'm going to flip forward to the next page to go to the strategies to improve reading. Now, I like how they break these strategies down. They have strategies before you even start reading, strategies while you're reading, and finally, strategies after you read something. So, starting before you read, number one says, approach reading with a positive attitude. If you had selected, I don't like what I'm reading, or it doesn't keep your attention, or you get bored, you can definitely just go in with a positive attitude saying, hey, got to read this for class. So I'm going to go ahead and get the most out of it that I can. And that's one way you can do it. Number two, create a distributed reading schedule. Instead of waiting until the last day when you have all these things due, uh, Sunday nights, maybe read throughout the week. I'm going to read on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for an hour and have a reading schedule so that you don't feel so overwhelmed. Number three, review past readings. So maybe you have 3 chapters you're reading this week. Before you get started on that chapter that you're going to read today, review what you read before so that you can be up to date on what the information is about. That's an option. Next page. Number four, preview. I do this because I get excited about new text. So I'll go and look at a chapter, look at the pictures, what's in the bold text font, look at the subject headings or titles and summaries and charts. So I know what I'm going to be reading about. And then mentally, I'm prepared to be expecting these things when I get to it. So that's just a preview. See how much I have to read. How many pages is it? So that's one way to look at that, previewing before you read. Identify the purpose of what you're reading. Why is my instructor asking me to read this? What is the importance of this text? So, looking at the big picture and setting the stage mentally for that information. I've done this before. Number six, creating a list of questions. If I have to read about the respiratory system and I'm not really familiar with biology, I might make a list of questions saying, well, what is it? Where is the respiratory system, and how does it work? And so I might create this list of questions just to prepare myself as I'm about to read about it. And then finally, before you read, plan for online engagement. Know the apps that you're using. If you're using an e-reader or an ebook, does it have highlighting features? What are the tools that are available for you on that online experience? A lot of students like to set timers. Maybe you'll read for 20 minutes on, take a 20-minute break, and then read again so that your eyes don't get tired. So you want to prepare for that online reading and not open up websites and go play games while you're supposed to be doing your work. Don't get distracted. All right, so while you are reading, here are some strategies. Pause to recite. Auditory learners, and we are going to find out what your learning style is when we get to chapter 7. But auditory learners learn by hearing. So if you take the time to say something out loud, that helps you to understand and memorize the information better. So pausing to recite it or say it out loud. Read for answers to questions on your list. So we saw that number 6 said create a list. Now, while I'm reading number 9, I can answer my questions. Oh, that's what the respiratory system is, and that's what it does, and that's where it's located. So now you can just start answering those questions to be more engaged in your reading. And I like this little cartoon where it says speed reading course from 7 o'clock to 7:05. There are techniques to help you read faster. There are videos and books to help you. On average, it takes a student about 4 minutes, 4 minutes to read one text page in these books that you're reading. So if I have 20 pages of reading, someone unmute your microphone and tell me 4 minutes a page, how long is it going to take me to read that chapter, that 20-page chapter?
An hour and 20 minutes.
Right. An hour and 20 minutes. Thank you so much. So I have these 20 pages. Now, if I can learn how to get my reading to maybe 3 minutes a page, now I'm looking at an hour for that chapter. And if you think about your time over the semester, if you can save 20 minutes for each chapter in each of your classes, now you're really saving time. So learning to read faster could be a valuable strategy to help you get through reading. And not just reading faster, but reading faster and understanding what you're reading at the same time. So they do have techniques out there for that. 10, something I do quite often, mark and annotate your textbook. I like to write in the margins, highlight, make little notes about what that section is about. If there was an important thing there, I underline it. So if you are a visual learner, this helps you in your photographic memories to remember what you're learning because your mind takes a picture of what you're doing and you learn it faster. So mark and annotate your text. If you're a little bored with what you're reading, taking notes help. Number 11, because it engages you to write about what you're reading. So that's an option as well. If you don't understand new words or vocabulary, 12 will help you look up the definition of the keywords. I still to this day look up words all the time because I love learning new words. So I look up things and use them in sentences that day and just help explore vocabulary so you too can do that. 13 says read critically. You don't have to agree with everything you read, especially if you're in a psychology class, a political class, a philosophy class. You can read critically and debate what the author is saying. So that's a way to get you engaged if you get a little bored with what you're doing as well. So it's all about engagement. And then finally, while you're reading, the last strategy in this section, apply reading strategies best suited to the subject. So obviously, if you're reading for a math class, you're going to be looking at formulas a lot. So you have to prepare strategies for formula writing. If you're reading for science, you're going to be looking at the scientific method. So they always give you information, a hypothesis, research, and a conclusion. So you can prepare for that when you're reading for that specific class. So there are reading strategies for specific classes, such as English and poems and stuff like that. Now, you have read what you needed to read. What are some strategies for after you have read something? Reflect, think about it. Um, what was the main ideas? What supported that idea? How did that work? What didn't work? So you just have a reflection session, closing your eyes and then just asking questions and pontificating on what you read, which means thinking about. All right. So reread difficult passages. Now that you have read an entire chapter, there might have been a section that was hard to understand. The rest of the context could have helped you to get that difficult section and understand it better. So go back and review that section that was hard to understand, and that may help you understand it better. Recite the marked text, number 17. This is a perfect time to go back, and if you annotated your text or underline things, as an auditory learner, great moment to go back and say those out loud. And now you are reinforcing that material. And number 18, talk about what you read. This has become one of my favorites. As my daughter was going through medical school, I got calls every week. So mom, let me tell you about all the hernias because we have to memorize them. The umbilical hernia does this, it's located here. And she would talk about it. All right, so we're doing spinal taps. Let me tell you how that works. We're stitching this week. So I got earphones of her talking about it because she's an auditory learner and her saying it out loud helped her study. So I feel like I'm a doctor too now because I had to learn about medicine for 4 years. So talk about it. Call up your friends, join a study group, and talk about what you're learning. 19 says, seek advice or seek a perspective on the subject, another perspective. So maybe this book on the respiratory system, I kind of got it, but I didn't understand it well. Maybe I'll watch a video, or maybe I'll get a different book and look at it from another perspective so that I can really incorporate the information better. And then finally, seek assistance. Number 20, ask for help. Your instructor, the ILC, join a study group, get some tutoring, ask your classmates what they understood, and kind of get some advice from someone if you're having trouble understanding topics. So that is the 20 strategies. Whew, I have talked my way through them. Now let's go back over to our chart and we're going to, hopefully you selected two. We're going to incorporate those that you selected into the chart. The two that I'm going to use is create a distributed reading schedule And the other one is concentrate on reading faster, because I think that'll help me because I'm overwhelmed with how much I have to read. If I can read faster, that would be so helpful. So those are here. So now you don't need the book anymore. The rest of this, you are going to be building techniques on how to incorporate these two strategies that you selected. So looking at step four says, what's the likely outcome of this strategy? Will it really work? What do you plan or hope to accomplish by using it? What does success look like to you? And what benefits can you experience by using this strategy? So, outcomes, hopes, benefits. What does it look like for a reading schedule? Well, if I can get this reading schedule going, I definitely will have time set aside for reading my chapters in biology. I'm going to get so specific. Like, I'm going to pick out the class I'm working on, especially with this respiratory system situation. I won't feel stressed when I'm taking the test because I know I read all of the reading. So it's going to reduce my stress. I'll be more confident in class because I know what the instructor is talking about because I read the chapters. So that's a benefit, and that's what I hope to accomplish. And finally, I want to be more confident in my class performance. Now that I've completed the reading, I can do the assignments. So that's what I'm putting for step four. These are the things that I'm expecting with this strategy. So if I read faster, I'm going to do the same thing for that strategy on this column. I'm going to spend less time reading my chapters in biology. If I can do it faster, break it down to 3 minutes instead of 4 per page. I will not feel like I'm reading all week because I can get through the material faster. It says I will have maybe reading 3 days instead of 5. So I'm going to cut down on the days that I'm reading. And then I will use those extra days to study and complete my classwork. So I'll give you a moment to write down your benefits, your expected outcomes, and your hopes for your strategies for step four. I was just checking my text chat. Y'all have been saying all kinds of things to me that I couldn't hear or see while I was talking. Sean, can you hear me now? Awesome. Thank you. All right. Don't feel rushed because you still have time to complete this. I'm just going to move forward to the next step just in case a few of you have gotten through step four. Again, don't feel rushed. You'll definitely have time to complete this. All right, so looking at step five is a very crucial part because this is where you're really building your when, how, and what's, your very specific parts of the DAPS goal that we talked about. Remember, the S is for specific. So this is where you're putting in very specific details on how you are going to do what you're doing. So list actions that you'll take for this strategy, include when, how, and what you will do to implement the strategy. So my first strategy, that distributed reading schedule, how am I going to incorporate this into my life? So let's look at what that may look like. So this week, I gave a win. I will set a schedule to read on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays for 2 hours each day. I'm going to read at the library where it's quiet after my biology class when the lecture is fresh on my mind. So I'm telling you how I'm going to do it. I'm at the library, what I'm doing. I'm reading biology. So I'm very specific on this step five on how I'm going to commit to this strategy. Same thing for my reading faster strategy. Very specific. I'm going to begin reviewing YouTube videos on reading faster. And I'm also going to check out a couple of books from the library on speed reading to enhance my reading skills. Now, I'm going to tell you when I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on these new strategies Friday through Saturday this weekend, and then begin incorporating what I've learned on Monday of next week. So, very specific. So, that's how I want you to map out your step five. And I'll give you a moment to do that. All right, so I'm going to migrate down to this final step. And let me do this really quick so we can see the whole document for a moment. And I'll shrink back in a second. But the good news is that when you get to step 5, where you're asked to write your DAPS goal, remember dated, achievable, personal, positive, specific goal, the good news is you've already written it. So what we're going to do is take the important components that you've already incorporated in this document, and we're going to bring them down to step 6 because you've already written your DAPS goal. You're going to talk about your challenge, how you would hope it to be, and you're going to select one of the strategies that you have outlined here. So you've talked about two different strategies. Let's just pick one that you think would be the best of the two, and you're going to incorporate that strategy into your goal. So in this case, I will be talking about feeling overwhelmed when I have too much to read. So I'm going to create a distributed reading schedule that is going to be me reading Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 2 hours a day in for my biology class, um, so that I can have enough time to read the materials that I need to read. So I've already written my DAPS goal. I'm just going to bring it down to step 6, and I'll show you what that looks like. So for step 6, as I said verbally, to overcome feeling overwhelmed about how much I have to read, I plan to create this distributed reading schedule when during the spring 2023 semester, well, I will read 2 hours a day, Mondays, and this I put Wednesdays and Thursdays to assure I have enough time to read all of my required chapters for biology. So make sure that you're bringing down those important parts to show your DAPS goal, the date, it's achievable, it's personal, positive, and be very specific. Do not type to overcome feeling overwhelmed about how much I have to read. I'm going to do all of the things that I set up there. Don't type that or you'll be missing a whole lot of points, because step 6 is the whole reason that we are going through this chart is to learn how to write a DAP school. So make sure you outline what you set up there and bring it down to step 6.